There we go. Time is up. Am I still alive here? Had problems for a while. Dropping a lot of frames. Screw you! Why are you such a problem today? Alright. Well, strange. Says I'm fine with memory, average upload, CPU. But I'm still dropping frames. Okay. Alright, I'm back. Alright, so if I keep dropping, guys, don't worry, because I will be back. Hi! You did terribly! Welcome back again, says Silent Willow. Thank you. Yeah, he didn't even get started till 8 minutes in. You know what? It's sometimes hard to just change gears like that. And I get that you were out and about. So, yeah, that's okay. That's alright. I did terrible on my first one. I'm going to see what I did here. I actually didn't do too badly. I think I got into the rhythm of it. It's very difficult when I'm trying to keep an eye on my stream, though, and see why I'm wondering if what's happening is I'm running into issues with my provider. Okay, so 322 words is how I did. That's right. It is better to do terribly than not do anything, says something poetic, and I totally agree with you. All right, so I did 322. Something Poetic did 285. That's great. Awesome. Trended Hero did 161. How is that terrible? Bobicus, hi. Welcome. Zero, but he just showed up, which is great. Boop. All right, let's see. I'm going to try to answer the questions that were in the chat while I was in and out, and I'm sorry. If I lose the stream, don't go away. I will be right back. I promise. I'm here for 3 hours. That's what I'm doing. So, Silent Willow asks, I was wondering, since you're using Word, why not write and build your world in OneNote? That's a good suggestion. I like OneNote a lot. I use it to keep notes on the different. Okay, talking about my laptop. So, what happens though with that is that my battery is dying and I need to replace it. So, and with the pandemic, I haven't been getting out to do that. So, but I like OneNote. It's good for it. I do a lot of my note keeping on it for different ideas and especially website links that I'm going to need to refer to later. Right. True Undead Hero was screaming about his lack of inspiration in the sprint. That's cool. All right. Okay. Bobicus said boop when he showed up, which is awesome. True Undead Hero says, all I got was, the city of St. Ivona was a large city that sat on the bank of the mighty Bay of Drusk. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It was a warm water port, one of the few that Drusk possessed that still led to the ocean that didn't freeze half the year. Industry had been hard on the once small community. In the last 20 years, the community had gone from a measly 1,000 people to over 20,000, boasting proud smokestacks and factories that fueled the modernization of the empire. Well, that gives me a picture for sure, and I get a sense of the climate, especially your climate there of Drusk sounds not dissimilar from Canada's climate. On the west coast, Vancouver's and is a very important port city because it stays like ice free, and then the other one that's mostly ice free is Prince Rupert, which is considerably farther north but gets hit with like a Santa Ana stream. So, and that's important. 322 is a special number in the Dota 2 community. I don't know what the Dota 2 community is. Is that a game? Because I don't play a lot of video games. I spent the time that I was, the people were playing video games writing mostly. Except for I did World of Warcraft for a while, and I did Star Wars Old Republic, because I love role-play style games. Cello says, oh my god, I didn't know there was a competitive word sprint in progress. It's more of a friendly competition. We're going to encourage each other. We're not going to mock the losers. We're going to encourage people for having done as well as they did. And I find that sometimes when you have that kind of environment going, it helps me to write, which is why I decided to do this stream in this way. Bobicus said, a pro player threw a minor match. Okay, I was right, it was a game. For a bet of $322 against his team. What a jerk! Are you kidding me? Threw a match for $322? Okay, listen, if you're going to throw a match, be like a major league boxer or an MMA fighter and be getting paid like a few thousands for the match to be thrown. $322? If you'll do that for $322, what else will you do for $322? That's bullshit. Sorry. Just is. Silent Widow, blah. Silent Widow. Ooh, there might be a character name in a future book. Okay, something poetic said to Silent Willow. I'm sure there will be more, at least I hope so, and you're right, there will. I'm going to be doing that right through to the end of the stream for 3 hours off and on. And the reason why is because they say I get so much more done during sprints with others, me too, which is why I'm doing this. Bobicus says, so whenever a team throws or makes a huge mistake, people will type 322 in the chat. I will probably remember that and start screaming 322 randomly at matches I think are fixed in major sporting events. Silent Willow says, I see, I don't participate. Fair enough. Ha! True Undead Hero says, I actually based it off of Vancouver and St. Petersburg. Cool. Very cool. Dota is a video game. Cool. Yeah, exactly. Everyone felt the amount of money he threw for ridiculous. Yeah, that's nonsense. Silent Willow says, is Vidya some sort of platform? Which I totally don't blame them for, because the first time I saw it, my brain tripped over it too. But no, it's just slang talk in the chat for video, right? The reason why they type it like that is because in a North American accent, we generally slur it all together and go, video games, right? So, well, thank you, True Undead Hero. He's cheering me on. He says, question, how do you choose to start a novel? Like, I always struggle with this. Oh my god, me too. My weakest point in my writing is my beginnings, right? Flat out. I always feel like I have to explain more than I do, right? I heard somebody once give good advice about starting a book where they say, okay, start where you think you should start, right? And then eliminate like the first chapter. Just take it out, right? And to some degree, that's useful, because I find that a lot of times I end up babbling to try to set things up, and you can always bring that in later. You don't have to hit people with it right away. Oh, Trended Hero says, well, it's more like I have a few hundred ways I could begin, but I don't know which could be the best. Yeah, it depends on what it is that you're going for. I personally, if I'm chewing between different approaches, I try to think about what's my theme here, right? Theme more than plot, because you kind of want to set up the feel for your book. You want a hook, right? You want something that's going to make people keep reading the page and then keep reading the first chapter. Right, so you got to think about that, but find the hook in a way that fits the theme. right? Or the character, right? And you're establishing something important about the character. Please don't, right? I have seen this a million times. Please do not start with the physical description of your character. You can put it in during the process and let little details go here and there, but frankly, I don't think. I'm waiting to see if I'm back. Hello, sorry about that. Okay, yes, I am back. I am front. Thank you guys. I'm so sorry. Alright. Bobicus asked True Undead Hero what the story is. So he said, I don't know what my theme is till I'm decently far in. That's fair. That's fair. So you might want to start with the character, right? And remember, you can always go back and rewrite the beginning. If you decide that you've changed course later on, you can always go back and rewrite it. I mean, it's, that's why we have word processing programs, right? You can just change it. It's easy. Nobody will know but you, right? But tone is easy. That's cool that you find tone easy, Bob, because I'm never sure about tone. I switch between sometimes, and I have to go back and rethink it. Trended Hero says, the story I want to write is a war story of an adventure during a war. A story of an adventure during a war. But I have many ways to start. One of the ways is the official declaration, the first battle, the things that lead to the battle, and the world itself. But at the same time, I feel I should start small with one character and how he reacts to this news of war. Yeah, okay. I'll keep reading in case somebody had an answer to that question, and we'll go back and address things. Silent Willow says, I keep descriptions of characters to a very bare minimum as readers tend to buckle the character to their own inner perceptions in any case. I find that too, right? So, and people want to do that because people want to see themselves in the character, and that's part of the fun, right? So I generally don't waste a lot of time on it unless it's important to the plot or something I want to say about the character themselves, right? If you're the type who wants me to describe, the birthmark on my character's ass, if it's important to the plot, I'll tell you, but otherwise I won't, because you don't need that. Babika says, definitely start small. I'm assuming that's in response to True Undead Hero, which makes sense, and everybody welcomed me back. I can't see my back. You can see my back if you want. I have a long ponytail. See, there we go. Caught my own, there. Ponytail. You've got some major butt kicking to do, Sable? Yeah, I do. I totally do. Yeah. Easy because I'm always bleak, says Bobicus. Well, that's cool. If that's what inspires you, that's great. Nothing wrong with Grimdark, right? I tend to write more hope punk than Grimdark, but I like Grimdark. I read a lot of it. There's at least one book that I'm going to write that is going to be Grimdark. I've been chewing on that for a while. Yeah, I kind of agree with Bobicus. I think that what you want to do is you want to transport your reader into your world and give them a feel for what's going on, right? So movies have the advantage of being able to start, and video games too, right, with this big setting, and then they narrow in on things, right, and that gives you an idea of culture and time period and stuff like that. But almost always, I find, there are exceptions, right? There are some great epic stuff out there that don't happen that way, but almost always it's better to start with a single character and their perspective, even in a big epic, right? Two of my favorite big epics, right? The Dark Tower series by Stephen King. He started with a little story about the gunslinger, right, who is chasing the man in black, the first line, right? The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. That's where he started. And this is great because you're starting with the characters, a single character's perspective. We know we're looking at things through the eyes of the gunslinger. I have an error message. I'm going to wait a moment. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. I'm just being quiet while my computer is having issues. Holy crap. What the heck is going on here? Okay, we're back up. Good. No, and then we're back down. God damn it. Okay, I'm going to talk in the meantime while it says good. I seem fine on this end? Okay, cool. All right, so the first line, right? The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. Now you have questions, right? You're thinking, who's the man in black? Who's the gunslinger? Why is the gunslinger following this man in black across a desert? What is this desert? Where is the man in black fleeing to? Why are they fleeing? What's the deal between them in the past? And that opens up the whole story. But of course, it ended up being this enormous, vast, worlds crossing epic that brought in the points of view of at least 6 or 7 other considerable characters. I'm not just talking about the quartet of the gunslingers either. I'm talking about, in some cases, he went into the villain's mind. In some cases, he went into casual observers' minds, you know, the bookstore owners who happened to be in the situation. But he started with one character, one perspective, right? And then the other thing I can think of is A Game of Thrones. A Song of Ice and Fire, more accurately, the books, as written by George R. R. Martin. I have another error message. So he started with the perspective of Bronn. That is who he started with, Bronn and Jon, right? And the whole scene with the dire wolves, right? Well, okay, actually, he gave a prologue about with their uncle, which most experienced editors will tell you not to do, and I would advise you not to do that either unless you know how to break that rule. But he did it, right? And then he started with that. And from there, we got the perspective of everybody else, right? Trended Hero says, so I have a lot of perspectives I want to address. One is a noble, one is a regular soldier, one is a mage in the army, as well as minor characters back home. But I've been told multiple perspectives are really bad. Something Poetic says what I was going to say pretty much, which is what? Lots of great books have multiple perspectives. It's harder, of course, but amazing when done right. Yes, it is harder. Let me tell you why people tell you this is bad. Because sometimes people do what they call head hopping, right? And that is, in a single scene, you go from George's perspective and Martha's perspective and Annabelle's perspective and the dog's perspective. And you're not cueing the reader in to whose brain you're in before making all those jumps. In general, before you become more experienced at it, it's better to start with one character's perspective per. Am I back yet? Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so where did I go down? I was talking about how it's often a good idea until you're more experienced to do a one character's perspective per scene, right? So when you're thinking about a scene, say it's the declaration of war, right? And the messenger comes back and the messenger has, holy crap, we're at war, and they, report information, and the declaration is made, and somebody reads the declaration, and then there's details about why this is done, right? Whose perspective would it be best to tell this from, right? And what you want to think about is who has the most information, but more importantly, who has the information that you want the reader to know, right? Because obviously the admirals of my fleet had more information in my declaration of war scene, but did I want the readers to know everything the admirals knew? No, I didn't, right? So I went to I tried to maintain a tight third-person personal point of view from my protagonist, and I was talking about the war declaration from his perspective, right? So there's some information he won't have. And then I stayed in his brain until the scene was done, right? And then I went, not too long after that to his girlfriend, and then her reaction to this declaration of war and her thoughts about what was going to happen and all that sort of thing. So if you try to use that as a rule, that sometimes is that's a good way to do it. Right, okay, I've got more error messages here. We're at 2:30 on my clock, and Salawillow is back herself. Great. I am going to take a short 5 or 10 minute break. And so strings while I am gone, which I will type in, if stream drops while I'm on break, don't worry, I will be back here until p.m. Pacific time. Okay. And in the meantime, I'm going to take a short break, get a drink, and I will be back in about 5 or 10 minutes, guys. If you have questions in the meantime, feel free to pour them in the chat. I will have the feed up, and I will get back to it as soon as I'm back. I'm back. Thanks for sticking with me. And thanks, Karan J. Fox, for joining us. He just came from his stream, I'm sure. He does some great world building and writing stuff, so you might want to check out his channel. Yeah, okay. So writer fuel was required. I'm sorry I had to shovel a couple of chips in my face because I started before I had eaten. Thank you for welcoming me back. Awesome. All right. So, again, I'm open for questions, comments. Trying to get that brand deal. No, you know what? That would be nice if they wanted to, like, pay me to show off their stuff, but eating is good for you, says Karan. So I hear anyway. Big smile. Yeah, I know. It's you get involved in things and it's like, what? 6 hours have passed already? Where, what should I have eaten lunch? What is this horrible gnawing feeling in my bowels and my guts that feels like something is chewing on my inside? Oh yeah, right, food. Yeah. Guilty. Yeah. Okay, so I think that unless people have questions or comments, we will jump right into a writing sprint here in a moment or two. While I was gone, True Undead Hero said, one thing I'm considering starting is a messenger arriving to the palace, panicked, sweating, and worn out, with letters from the fleet about an attack. Yeah, that gives me an image, right on. I may write that in the next sprint. Cool, I think that's a great idea. Oh, and he says, I believe in people named Sable Aradia. And that is when Karan J. Fox showed up and said, I don't, I just arrived here and I see no evidence, which is perfectly legit. And said hello, which to True Undead Hero. I do believe that True Undead Hero is on Karan's Discord server, so. Alright, so another 15-minute sprint, you're thinking? Cool, that makes sense to me. I suppose while I'm in the middle of the break here, I should probably... Yeah, let's see. I have a Discord server too. You're welcome to join me there. Tell you what I'll do here. I will type in my worlds in the chat if you guys would like to check them out. There is a link to my Discord server to join from both of these sites. So that's my space opera Napoleonic Wars Flintlock fantasy thingy, which I love. I've been working on it for years. Oh, I typed word anvil. It's world anvil. Sorry, guys. So you may have to correct that last... Oh, thank you for following me there, True Undead Hero. That's awesome. And there's the other one. Yeah, and if you want to join my Discord server, there's links on both of those. Let's just scroll down to the bottom. It'll be on the right-hand side. Okay, so 15 minutes? Or do you want to go 20? Right? Because I see we're almost at 3 o'clock again already. Time is flying when you're having fun, right? Okay, I'll take it that we are sticking with 15. No problem. Everybody ready? Go back to my main screen. 15 minutes sounds good, says Something Poetic. Awesome. All right, ready. In that case, let us begin. Starting now. What? The invite link for Discord on the Weird West World has expired? Okay, thank you for telling me. I don't know why that is. I will fix that. Sorry to interrupt the sprint, guys, but I was like, what? Grr. Okay. So when we're done the sprint, I will open up my Discord just in case it makes me drop the whole stream again, and I will put an invite in the chat. So, and then I will fix that later. We're about halfway through the sprint, guys. All right, that's time. My music went quiet there for a while, eh? Handy, that. All right, so I'll figure out how many words I had here, and I don't know why. Ah, I see, I'm in a break for my music. But I didn't go down at all during that time, did I? So I think I figured out what the problem was, and that was probably zombies from having my Chrome open too long, because I'm terrible with that stuff. Okay, so, Karin says, I joined from the other world, so no worries, just figured it's good to know. Yeah, it's definitely good to know. I will fix that as soon as I'm done streaming. But I'm glad that you found your way. I'm now dropping a lot of frames again. Every time I talk, it doesn't like me talking. Okay. Trended Hero says, Welp, I got thrown out of my mode by my dad calling me. Now I realize I'm hungry and must make my marinated steaks with my homemade barbecue sauce. No writing for me. Yeah, life, it happens. Karin says, poor you having to eat tasty barbecue steaks. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'd like to be so deprived. Yes. 'Tis a sweet, savory, well-smoked cross I have to bear, and mine alone, says True Undead Hero, which might be the best response ever. Thumbs up for that one, that's great. Babacus says, minus 20 words I'm editing. Awesome. That is awesome. Something Poetic says, yay, 383 words. Good for you. I have to, yeah, if I'm minusing words when I'm editing, that's definitely a plus, because I'm an overwriter. So, Trended Hero says 259 words from the 6 minutes I was active on. Holy crap, I wish I could write that fast. Willow says, no, you didn't. Okay, that was, I think, in response to, did I go down again? Okay, I think, is that all? That's bit? Yes, I think it is. Oh, good, I must have done not too badly this time then. So, alright, how many did I do? Oh no. Haha, no, I'm not as good as I thought I was. Okay. There we go. That's why I put asterisks down, so I know where I am. I'm going to go back through and delete all those asterisks in a minute. Something Poetic says basically what I think, which is, wow, 259 words in 6 minutes? I can't even think that fast, not to mention write at that speed. People on NaNoWriMo do it all the time, though, and I think they're insane. I admire it, but for me, slow and steady like the tortoise wins the race, right? I am slower than that. Okay, just a minute here. I think it said, and then it said 0 for some reason, because I'm having a brain fart on my computer again. 338 is my total, so Trended Hero says, I grew up taking typing classes. I know how to type quickly. I just struggle getting started. Yeah, I took typing classes too, and thinking is what takes up time. And I guess, of course, I always end up going back and deleting if I don't like something, which is bad when you're doing NaNoWriMo. You should just ignore that, but I just can't. I can't make myself do it. Something Poetic says they need a break and they are lurking. Thank you. Thank you for, hanging with us so far and for lurking. That's awesome. Trended Hero says, I need that key, well thought out written sentence. I understand. The thing that makes you go, okay, now I know where I'm going. I'm more likely to get those in the editing than I am in the start, but that's me. All right. So I'm going to go back and delete those other asterisks, because they confused me before and I don't want them to confuse me again. Now I can do, if I'm smart, I can go here and I can find the asterisks because this is Word. And one of the reasons why I write with Word is so I can do shit like this. See? Okay, and that's where I want to be. So, Trended Hero says, well, this has been fun, but I do need to start grilling. Have a good time, and I will try my best to catch the next one. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm glad you got some writing done. That's what we're here for. And I'll be doing this every Wednesday at the same time. So if I don't see you before then, I will see you next week. I'm lurking for now. Awesome. Thank you. That's great. Thanks so much, for watching it all. So I don't know if there's anybody here who isn't lurking in the chat now, but if there is, this is the place where we discuss writing, and if you have any questions about writing, then feel free to ask them. I'm happy to answer to the best of my ability. Salawillow's still here. Yay! Right on. Yeah. And if there's not a lot of questions, I'll just go back and do some more tippity-tappying away. But that's up to you guys. I kind of know where I'm going now, so I feel good about it. Here, maybe I'll show you some process stuff while this is going on. So this is something I do. I put the things that are next, and I have a note here that's important that I have to remember this number, but you don't know who that guy is, so it doesn't matter, right? But I put that in my manuscript so that, yeah, I'll always look at my manuscript and where I am, so I'll never miss that note, right? But, okay. But this stuff is like, this is where I'm going. These little references tell me kind of the next things that I'm working to write on. Right now I'm working on this bit right here. So that's the part that I'm working on. And then when I get it done, I delete it. Right, and since I'm working on it, I might as well delete it because I know where I'm going next. Right, and this stuff here is stuff that I took out but wasn't certain exactly like if I would still need it. So I put it at the end of the document, at the part that I'm not currently, working on, like after it all, so that I can put it back to where it needs to go later. Right, that's more editing work. And I can see that I was actually in the middle of editing when I came to start writing this point, because I see stuff that it's definitely going in. I just was, I'd moved it because of the sequence, right? Like I wasn't sure what sequence I wanted it to be in. Did it come before this scene or that scene? Right, so if you're on World Anvil and you're following their development of their writing software that they're doing, Project Homer, right, then you can see why I would definitely be looking forward to individual scenes, because then you can just move them around, right, with a drag and drop menu, which would be incredibly much easier than copy paste. So that's part of my process. And when I'm doing NaNoWriMo, I put everything that I've decided I don't need, like if I'm going to delete it, right, I copy it into the bottom of the document. I still count it towards my total words. And I don't delete it because, I wait till after, right? That way it still counts and I'm not, shooting myself in the foot with my word total, but I'm, not distracted by having this thing that I am not going to use in the middle of my damn document. All right. Trended Hero says, what is the purpose of life? I mean, writing to you. Yeah, sort of the same thing. What is the purpose of writing? Okay, you want the Reader's Digest condensed version? Right, I've sort of thought about that. Yeah, Karan says he's still here, but it's getting late for him. That's cool. thank you for hanging out, but if you have to go, that's cool. And well, I haven't told you what this story is about. I did, but it was way back at the beginning of the stream and it probably got cut off, so I will tell you like a little bit more detail. All right, so the series is called, oh wait, no, I was going to answer. Sorry, I got to answer True Undead Hero first. Good night, Karin. Thank you for joining me. I'll be doing this every Wednesday, so see you next week. After your stream, I think, or maybe you've got like a half an hour left or something. I tried not to overlap, so hopefully I'm not doing too much of that. Right, okay, so what is the purpose of writing to me? The Reader's Digest condensed version is I like writing stories. I like telling stories. I always have, right? Like, I was a very imaginative kid, and I spent a lot of my early childhood with, like, not a lot of other kids around. And so I, got lonely and made up imagination games, right? And then I still liked to make those games. Huh, awesome, Karan. That'd be cool, right? He says, if it works out, he'll raid next Wednesday. Poof. Cool. Right, so, then I discovered reading, and I discovered it really young, right? Like I was 2, and I discovered reading, and I quickly ran out of children's books because once I'd figured it out, I took to it, like, and I read everything. Raw Script Writing just followed. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome. Glad to have you. I'm on for about another hour. So I've been having some problems with the stream dropping on and off today. So if I do, then don't worry, don't go anywhere, at least until, another hour, because I'll be back. But yeah, so I read all the books in the house, and then my parents did not have enough money to buy me a bunch more books, so then I started making up my own stories and telling them to my great uncle, who was basically my grandfather, and I just kept telling stories, and by the time I was 10 years old, I had figured out that this is what I wanted to do. So what's the purpose of it? I've always got imagination working overtime. I need an outlet for it. Role-playing games help with that, but writing, is really kind of like the juice for me. And I do it because, I don't know, what's the purpose of it? Because I love it, right? If other people like my stories, that's cool. I often work out things where, I'm thinking about something. So that's what I do with my writing. And if other people enjoy that, that's great. Raw Script Writing says, I love storytelling through writing. Me too. Absolutely. Right? And Salawillo says, writing is the best drug out there. Yes, it's really addictive, isn't it? It's like, it's a good thing that doesn't actually, well, okay, may lead to caffeine addiction, nicotine addiction, a widening butt, and sore back and carpal tunnel. But otherwise... Ross Script says, this is my kind of stream. I'm just going to call you Ross because I assume Ross is your name, if that's okay, right? But it's Ross Script Writing if people want to check him out. Trended Hero says, I actually wasn't great at reading. Not that I couldn't do it, but I could never pay attention long enough. I had really bad ADHD when I was young, but I was fascinated by other worlds and creating them. I wrote almost every day in high school, but once I lost it all after high school, I kind of fell into this dark drought. Once I found TTRPGs, I decided to try and get back into it. My story's not this similar, right? Like, okay, I'm going to try to go big screen because we're chatting, but if I start dropping frames, I'll go back to small screen. I had some problems with that today. It's cool. Hope it works for you. Yeah, I found it did, right? Like, I'm one of those kids where something is awry, right? But they did not have the stuff for it to figure out what it was when I was in school. And I coped pretty well, so a lot of times people didn't know there was a problem, right? So I'm certain that ADD anyway, maybe not ADHD, but ADD is definitely part of the way my brain works. And that's one of the reasons why I'm always writing 4 or 5 different things at the same time, because if I get distracted from one, I go back to the other, and eventually, as long as I commit to finishing it, it all gets done. You have to commit to finishing it, though, right? That's why National Novel Writing Month was really good for me, because then I committed to getting something done, and I learned discipline, and that's been invaluable, right? And role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games, are one of the ways in which I got back into that. I started playing them in my senior years in high school. I got like the original Dungeons and Dragons, like, okay, not the original, but the red box set with the die that had the crayon that you had to put the numbers of the dice on, right? I got that when I was 10, and I was absolutely enamored of it, and I tried to get everybody in the world to play with me, and nobody would play it with me. And then I found out there was some boys in the neighborhood who were playing D&D, and I'm like, can I play? Right? And they're like, D&D's for boys. So that didn't happen again until my boyfriend was into D&D when I was like 16, 17. Bitter. Yes, you may detect a little bitterness there. But yeah, and I loved it. And that got me, once I'd left high school, I kept doing that. So I didn't really, like, I stopped working on the writing per se, though, because I ended up being a stepmom at a very young age. I was 19 when my stepson came to live with us, and he was 3. And I found it absolutely impossible to do any real writing while I was working stupid split shifts and had this little boy that had to be taken care of, who was very ADHD and required a lot of attention, and and no regrets. But as a result, I got started on the writing late, and I didn't get serious about it until after my husband's major car accident. So that's my story. Am I back? Yes, I'm back. Okay. So yeah, so it's a flintlock fantasy, Age of Sail space opera, and the plot is basically sort of Horatio Hornblower if there was a spy thing in the middle of it, and the characters were elves and orcs, right? The protagonist's name is Shandar Sunfall, and he is a young pilot. He lies about his age to join the Navy because he's kind of a misfit when war is declared. But like most young people who grow up with sailors for parents, or at least officers for parents, he had spent a lot of time on his father's ship, so it's not like he was completely new to sailing, right? And he wanted to make a difference, so he joined the Navy. And I'm not going to get into too much more of that, but things went south quickly in the first book. He learned that war was not a great adventure, that horrible things happen. There is a lot of graphic violence, and I make no apologies for it because it's a war story. And then in book 2, he joins a secret program to try to infiltrate their enemy, the orcs, to spy on them and assassinate key leaders, right? And goes through this training program and starts doing that. But then he ends up, almost by accident, infiltrating one of the noble families of the orcs. Their empire is ruled by like 13 noble families, right? And he ended up joining one of them, and that's the whole thing. I don't want to spoil anything, right? So, and of course, then he realizes that maybe the orcs aren't bad people after all. They're not monsters. They're just people, and they're doing what they think they have to do too, right? So it confronts colonialism, racism, uh, you know, uh, just the whole logic of war. I'm not anti-military, and I'm not anti-war, because as much as you would like the world to be beautiful and peaceful, there are always going to be those who will make sure you can't do that. So you have to have people who are ready to defend it. But I do think that sometimes we get drawn into wars that are not just wars, right? There's been a lot of that over the past, since I left high school, right? So, and what does that mean? And why do we do it? And all that kind of thing. So I try to confront all that. But, it's a fantasy setting. So hopefully it's not fraught with, a lot of the baggage of politics that we bring to such discussions when we try to discuss them in the real world, right? So, yeah. So that's basically what it's about. It's about that character, Shandar Sunfall and his journey, right? Later books will go into after the war and post-traumatic stress and why it is that we don't take good care of our veterans. And, I hope that's as scathing a critique as I feel. And then the last book, which I've only got the vaguest idea about where I want to go with it, right, deals with confronting both the elf and orc worlds and trying to, deal with where they cross over, right? And I'm, hopefully no spoilers, but that's the deal, right? Trended Hero says, here's the thing. I knew of D&D, but I grew up in North Dakota, I'm going to assume ND means, where we didn't even have a game shop to access it. I'm sorry, I'm Canadian, so I have to guess it. Those kind of things, right? Yeah, okay, but anyway, where we didn't even have a game shop to access it, I was really sad, and a lot of people thought I was a weirdo. I am trying to recreate with that creative side, which I didn't realize that I had lost. And that's, something that we do, right? Like, I think most of us are like that. Artists, creatives, we're the people who hold on to those kind of, imaginative, creative urges, right? Like, I was a weirdo too, right? I had, like, no friends, so everybody thought I was strange. Everybody still thinks I'm strange. I have to talk to people online to meet other weirdos like me. So thank you for being weirdos like me. I appreciate it. It's good to have you here. Okay. All right, so we are at 3:19 according to my clock. I think I'm going to go for, I don't know, let's see, how about a nice long half-hour stream, word sprint, unless people have more comments or questions. Oh, and I have a question for the audience, by the way. Do you guys think that I should upload these to YouTube? Right? I've uploaded my other ones, but I'm not sure about, wait, no, this one. Yeah, I'm uploading this one. I'm sorry. I meant I'm doing Sunday world building streams, and they're a much more casual format, and I'm not sure whether or not I think they have any value on YouTube, and if people think they do, let me know. Right, and I will upload them there. I might save them for patrons who are signing up for behind-the-scenes stuff. So, I guess I should put my Patreon in the chat too, right? You never know. There's a link on my world pages too, though. So if you'd rather ignore this, that's fine. But there it is. If you want to support the channel and these streams and my work and get serialized chapters in these novels that I'm writing, I try to do a serialized chapter every week in both Toy Soldier and Weird West. So I don't always succeed, but I try. I'm pretty consistent with it, so you get that even at $1 a month. So I think it's pretty decent value for that. If you're into audio, I read my stories for my patrons. And I said to True Undead Hero earlier it was $2, but actually I'm wrong. It's $3. I forgot because they changed the way they do pricing on Patreon, but I do that, and I do it if you're at $10 a month, you get like a video stream, but if you do it at $3, you get an audio stream that you can download to your favorite podcast player. It's an audio RSS feed, and you can listen to it anywhere. So, and if you're into that. Anyway, it's 3:22, so I think I'm going to set up another sprint here for half an hour, and since nobody said anything, that's what I'm doing. I think perhaps I'll type in the chat just so nobody gets confused. All right. And we're off. I'm going to try changing the music here. Although this music isn't working very well for me, but... Ooh, I like it.